This episode of Paranormal Heart is brought to you by Nodakian Studios. If you're looking for a fine piece of stoneware pottery, check out Nodakian Studios at nodakianstudios.com, as well as on Facebook, where she periodically gives away pieces of pottery. Again, check out Nodakian Studios at nodakianstudios.com.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward, along with a special segment, Oddities with Jon Mallard.
Welcome back, folks, to Paranormal Heart. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As always, you can find us on the second and last Sunday of each month on Podbean and YouTube. You can also find us on sparkradionet.org, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, and anywhere you find fine podcasts. Well, folks, quarantines around the world are still going on, although I am hearing that some places are thinking of lifting some of the restrictions. I really hope this isn't too soon, and they know what they're doing. But whatever the decisions, be safe. Let's send prayers, good vibes, and light to the world in hopes that this will be over soon. This episode's shout-out goes to my listeners in Estonia. Thanks so much for tuning in, taking the time. I really appreciate you. Much love to you all, and be safe. If you've had any paranormal experiences, I am looking for you to be a guest. Paranormal could be ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, Mandela effect, whatever is not considered normal. If you don't feel comfortable being on the show, that's okay. I don't have to use your real name, and if you prefer, just email me your encounter and I'll be more than happy to read it on the show. I just want to share your encounter with others who may have had similar encounters. Drop me an email at paranormalheart13@gmail.com. And now for Oddities with the oddest man himself, Jon Mallard. Over to you, Jon.
Hey gang, welcome to Oddities, strange facts that are true about an odd world. Well, the world's gotten itself real strange the last time I did one of these. The coronavirus needs no introduction. We all know what it is. But you know what's really weird? What's really odd are all the crazy conspiracy theories people are coming up with as they try to explain this, pandemic. If you're struggling to understand how Bill Gates fits into all this, we're going to need to go back to October 2019. That month, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation collaborated with the World Economic Forum and the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security to test how well we were prepared to deal with, you guessed it, a freaking epidemic. In a curious twist of fate, the COVID-19 virus showed up 2 months later. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Might think there's a conspiracy there. Conspiracy theorists say the program was a prelude to the upcoming epidemic, which all three organizations had planned all along. Meanwhile, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security has denied any link between the event and COVID-19. Like you would. I'm after hearing even crazier stuff. Like, honestly, this whole thing where people actually think the internet has something to do with it? Yeah. 5G internet. Okay, so this is where this weird one comes from. Wuhan was one of the first Chinese cities to get 5G internet. It is the same city where the COVID-19 virus first appeared. Is that a coincidence? Well, some people think it isn't. One particular person, Dana Ashley, believes the COVID-19 virus is caused by radiation waves released by 5G internet. She based her claims on a 2-decade-old research paper that revealed 5G was dangerous to human health. I mean, obviously it must be weakening the immune system, leaving a person vulnerable to diseases, right? Thankfully, there's other people on the other side of the fence, and they say Ashley's just another conspiracy nut. So we'll just leave it at that. Here's one I've definitely heard tossed around, People are wondering, started in China. Well, maybe it's the Chinese government. Some people believe China created the COVID-19 virus as part of its biological weapon program. They say the virus leaked from a lab, causing the epidemic. The lab in question is the National Biosafety Laboratory. It is the only Chinese government-owned facility capable of conducting research into deadly viruses. It's also a part of Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is located in Wuhan. So, there's a little fuel to this fire. If you recall, Wuhan is the same city where the epidemic actually broke out. So these claims arose over a statement President Xi Jinping made right after the epidemic broke out. He said the safety of laboratories was a national issue. The following day, the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology released the instructions on how to secure laboratories to prevent the escape of viruses. So, come on. You are literally giving us the journal entry as to what the heck is going on here. Oh, man. Something incredible happened in northeast China in the early hours of October 11, 2019. A meteorite exploded in the sky just after midnight, causing an intense flash that made the night sky as bright as day. And wouldn't you know it, the conspiracy theorists just couldn't help themselves. They had to jump on this one. And they say maybe it's, a virus from space. Because, it has to be alien. Scientists say it is unlikely since the meteor did not land on the ground. And even if it did, they do not think the virus could have survived the extreme temperature of the landing. Meteors that do not burn up in the atmosphere can reach 1,198 degrees by the time they touch the ground. This is more than enough to kill the virus several times over. So this is not really going to be a panspermia type thing, I don't think, right? And there's other things, too, people are getting on with. My God, people talking about Chinese woman who ate a bat and bat soup. I even had heard people say some unknown person or group created it from the HIV virus. And that is just, I can't even grasp what that is. Not all conspiracy theories have a name pinned on them, like this one proposed by a group of Indian researchers. The researchers say the COVID-19 virus bears some resemblance to the HIV-1 virus. They said this was enough evidence to prove that someone had modified HIV to create this new virus. They published a paper in BioRevix, a website for research papers awaiting review, and for people who are conspiracy nuts to enjoy. But I think my all-time favorite, you have to be insane to actually believe this, like conspiracy theory, is that Corona beer has something to do with this. Yeah, Corona Extra is a brand of beer brewed in Mexico, and it's unrelated to the coronavirus. It does not cause or spread it. The beer got its name from the Spanish and Latin word for crown, for God's sake. The virus is named for its crown-like shape, hence the name Corona beer, coronavirus. People start to talk. Next thing you know, they're talking about the Corona beer virus, the beer virus, and beer coronavirus since January. So there you go. Corona has been suffering a naming crisis since the epidemic broke out, while no one has actually claimed it causes or spreads the virus. It appears that people already nurse such beliefs. Because, people are odd. So there you go, guys. There's your oddities for this month. Back to you, Kat.
Thanks so much, John. My next guest I recently met on Twitter. I checked out their podcast, and hey, they've really got a great show. I really enjoyed it. They talk about anything paranormal. Give them a listen and tell them Kat and Boo sent you. We chat a bit about the coronavirus and jump into one of their paranormal experiences. Well, not one of them, a few of them. So please welcome, from Vice City Podcast, Melissa and Mario. Hey guys,
we're ready.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart.
Hey, how you doing, Kat?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Trying to make it through the day, trying to keep occupied. So
yeah. Are you guys self-isolating or quarantining, I should say?
Yeah, sort of, in a sense. I work in the hospitality and tourism industry, so I wasn't laid off. My establishment closed down for a number of months, so
oh, geez,
to open back up. Yeah.
Wow.
So projects at home, sitting on the sofa in the yard.
Yeah. But at least you guys have nice weather. You're in Florida?
Yes, we're in Florida.
Yeah, Miami.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice. Always sunny, always warm.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, here in the Ottawa Valley in Canada, it's spring has finally sprung. Robins all over the place. It's starting to get nice, but there's still a little bite in the air. But at least I've never seen my town with so many people walking their dogs before. It's amazing.
Was it you that said the joke that you should rent your dog out for like 50 cents so people can get out of the house?
Oh, yes, no. I saw it on Instagram that there's a meme that says, rent my dog if you want to go out for a walk.
Yeah, 50 cents, take my dog and walk him.
Wow.
For like 20 minutes or something.
Well, I'm going back to school, and we're doing classes online right now. And my kids, they're in high school, and they start classes tomorrow. I have my youngest, he's 16. I think he's a little put out that he has to start classes again. And I told him, I said, well, it's bound to happen. So, if it was later on during the school year for them, maybe they would have just said, never mind. But no, you still have a little whiles yet to go. So.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know we have a little one. She's 5 years. She's 5. I don't even know her own age. She's 7.
Going back in time there for a second.
Yeah, she's 7, and I guess some of her friends told her that they're done with school for the year, and I'm like, no, baby, it's only April. You still have quite a ways away to go for school. So yeah, they're already doing online classes.
Yeah, they are, and I'm going to school myself, and I'm doing my education online too. And
nice.
It's so different because I don't know if it's because that's the way I was raised or that's how I did my education, but I like the old school way. I like the fact that you go somewhere, you look at someone in the face, there's an interaction. I feel like you can learn a little bit more, maybe like different things because you're socializing with other people. I know these times don't allow it, but it's a different universe doing things online.
Yeah. Well, it's also I'd say also the energy too. Like
the motivation that you need to give yourself to actually complete some things is rough sometimes. I mean, battling with that paper for a week.
Yeah. But I mean, it just being surrounded though with other people who are intent and focused on the same thing that you're doing, it gives you like sort of some clarity of mind and some drive to really apply yourself. It's so hard to do it on your own by yourself in the office, at midnight, staring at a computer screen, trying to push through.
And you're at home, like, believe it or not, whoever says that being at home you can focus and it's distraction free, they're wrong. The fridge is calling you constantly. Yeah. The TV and the couch are like claiming that you come and just take a 5-minute break that becomes like a 20-minute nap later. Yes. It's impossible. You can't.
So, yeah,
Well, it's funny for me, we're doing Zoom classes, so we still have class. We get to see everybody if they decide to turn their video on. But the professor's there doing their spiel, and if we have any questions, we'll just ask. If not, they'll just shut it off and email for questions later. And at first I thought this is a great way to do it, but it's exhausting. And I thought I was, I'm fine. I'm having naps in between classes. Don't tell my professors. And my husband's like, why are you so tired? I'm like, I don't know. And I mentioned that during one of the classes, and the professors and my fellow students are all saying the same thing. For whatever reason, they're all exhausted. So I don't know what it is. I figured it would be easier, but it's not.
No, yeah, it's definitely draining. I think it's just the fact that you're mixing with the home environment and the energy that you have at home, and trying to get into that mindset of applying and doing actual work in your home environment where you're supposed to be relaxing. I don't know. It's kind of taxing on my brain.
Yes, true.
Yes.
For me, it hasn't been, I haven't been doing the Zoom that much. For me, believe it or not, it's been more email communications with my teachers, which is so, I mean, I get it. You're independent, you're, doing your college classes, whatever. It's your responsibility, but it seems a little impersonal.
Yeah, I agree.
So it really takes a lot for me to be like, okay, sit down. You got to do this.
I think this coronavirus is kind of made everybody start thinking about how, because this might be the future, doing classrooms like that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, some people say that they're not really sure. Some people believe that the world's going to change forever from this. I mean, I personally don't think that it will. I think everything will go back to normal more or less in 6 months to a year. But I mean, it's definitely shown that a lot of jobs can be done from home, telecommuting.
Yep.
That it's not as hard. It's not so hard to do online courses or online schooling, but it really takes out that personal, or I should say the social element of it. Because I mean, it's not just about learning the material. It's also about building those relationships and connections and those social skills with the other people you interact with in these institutions. Yep. So, but that's just my thoughts.
Agreed. I hope you guys are safe, though.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Staying at home. I mean, we've left the house in the last 4 weeks. How many times?
Maybe 3 times, because it will get to a point where we need to get out and go for a ride and just see what other people are doing around the neighborhood.
Yeah, make sure.
Yeah, we live in a part of Miami that is nearby the, what is that called? Like the farm.
Yeah,
the
farmlands. Yeah, farmlands.
Okay.
So it's neat just to get out and see what's going on around.
Yeah, so. But yeah, staying safe, 6 feet. 6 feet. Everybody
away.
stays 6 feet away.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason we go out is just to go get groceries. And I was out yesterday, and the stores all have tape on the floor, stay so many feet away. And there's plexiglass at every cashier's
I've seen that.
aisle. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dread going to the grocery store because I have like the biggest panic attack afterwards. Trying to disinfect myself, everything, not touch anything. Yeah. Pray that I didn't breathe the wrong air.
Yeah. What's in your direction? No. I'm smelling down from dead. Yeah. Gone.
A few weeks ago, I went shopping with my kids, and my son just happened to cough a little bit, right? And you should have seen the looks they gave him. It's like he's not sick, really. Little dry in the store, and he's got a tickle. Yeah, almost mob mentality there. It's like, son, you might want to go wait outside because look at the way they're looking at us.
But I mean, a little bit of a dark humor there. It's not a bad strategy to keep everybody 6 feet away from you.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a cough.
Yeah, but it's what kind of, to be a little bit more serious. What kind of freaks me out about this the most, honestly, are the people. Like I just read an article this morning about an increase in couples suicides because of this.
Really?
Because what's happening is that people who are already a little bit more mentally unhealthy, now they're forced to socially isolate, and the isolation is kind of playing into, not to mention the fear mongering going on all over the news.
Yeah.
But that coupled with their sort of mental instability and the paranoia and all the fear that's being conjured up in the media, they kind of feel like there's no out, and then they just,
oh, wow. I hadn't read that. That's terrible.
That is horrible.
So anybody...
I'm actually afraid,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because, I mean, you're going to have more and more people here who are a little bit more mentally unstable. And, and they're going to break, I think. I mean,
and
the guy, wasn't there just a guy yesterday or the day before walking around with the AK-47?
Oh, yeah. Somebody around I guess, how many miles? Like at least 2 or 3 miles away from us?
Yeah.
Yeah, walked into a Kohl's clothing store with an AK-47 trying to shoot random people.
Wow.
Yeah, and that wasn't in the news. Nobody got shot. Then there was another, I got an alert, I think it was this morning, some guy walking around with a hammer and people taking pictures of him and being like, beware, this guy is walking around with a hammer saying somebody stole his plants.
Yeah.
Like people are losing it.
People are losing it.
No kidding.
So,
It's crazy out there. So people, like all you listeners, no matter where you're listening from, if you're having a tough time, please reach out to someone. It's going to be okay. Yes, there's lots of fatalities right now, but it's sad to say that with every illness like this, with every virus, there's bound to be some fatalities. But if you follow the guidelines that your governments are telling you, 6 feet apart, wash your hands frequently, if you're able to use water and soap, because even in Canada here, there's some places where the water's not all that clean. Just boil water if you have the means to. So just try your best to stay calm and just send lots of love and light out to the world. And let's get through this together.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, everything eventually will be okay. We're gonna overcome this.
Yep.
We're gonna learn. We're going to adapt. But just like you said, everything will be fine. And we got to hold on just a little bit longer.
Yes.
And not, especially hold on to our senses, and just be kind and helpful to each other, but stay away. Stay away.
Yes. It's pretty bad. My sister-in-law just lives around the corner from us, and we'll be at the end of the driveway. Hey, how's things? We're not letting anybody in. She's not letting anyone in. It's just, it's horrible. But like you said, we have to adapt. We're doing what we have to survive right now, and eventually, hopefully, this will be a memory very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, sooner rather than later. Yeah, because I mean, people, they can't stay cooped up, literally prisoners in their own home. It's kind of crazy just how much everything's been affected by this.
Yeah, of course, but also I feel like we all have to remember that it all starts and finishes with our minds. You gotta put your mind in a positive place, although sometimes it gets really rough. Just try to learn from what you're going through, because it's gonna make you a better, stronger person. And also, I think this is a great time, because we're kind of going through that, to start becoming more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to really learn things that are key, which is being able to feed yourself, being able to have clean water, and not rely so much in being a
consumer.
Yeah.
Being such a consumer. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we've actually started in the last couple of weeks. We've tried to grow our green thumb.
Nice.
Yeah. So we've got a number of fruit trees and gardening, raised garden beds, vegetables, and hopefully chickens very soon.
Nice.
Yeah. I think we all should do that in one way or another, obviously, because it all depends on where we are in the world. But
yeah, absolutely.
I jokingly said the other day that I feel like Mother Nature or Mother Earth has sent us all to our rooms for a timeout because we're being disrespectful to her. But after saying that, I'm starting to read more and more locations around the world where wildlife are coming out, waters are getting cleaner. It's just amazing how with this, I'm going to say it's almost like we've had to push the pause button, and so far the planet seems to be healing.
Yeah.
Slowly, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Wasn't there a report or an article out a couple of days ago saying that the air quality in Beijing has increased drastically since this whole and LA as well, since everybody's been sort of in self-quarantine or self-isolating, or the stay-at-home orders have been in place.
Yeah.
Like just the air quality around, since there's not as much car traffic.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's crazy how fast that's happened, just a matter of weeks.
I also read the other day that, I don't know if this is true or not, but because there's lots of fake news out there, but I like to believe it's true. Venice, the waters, I guess they're starting to clear.
Oh yeah, I read that dolphins have returned to Venice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you mean you open up your front door and the canal, there's a dolphin right there?
Surprise, there's Flipper, Italian Flipper there with his family.
That's amazing. Are you serious? Yes. Italian Flipper. Dolfino. That's crazy.
It is crazy times. So with that being said, you guys have an awesome show called Vice City Podcast. And I've only listened to a couple of episodes because I've been so busy with school right now, but I really liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, it's something that at least I had wanted to do for a long time, since before I met Melissa, and I never had the opportunity to. And then we started talking about it, and we found out that we have more or less the same interests in paranormal and just high strangeness and just unexplained
things in general.
Things in general. Conspiracy theories, but not really so much conspiracy theories, just things that really, at least for me, get your gears, and you get your imagination going, get you thinking, and you can sort of draw parallels amongst different events. And it's like, well, it sort of plants a seed of doubt in your mind. Like, can that really happen? Is that really, like events like that? And that's what really really sparked my curiosity and my interest to talk about those things, because we listen to a lot of podcasts, and some of them, they just don't go into the detail that at least I personally would like to hear about. I like to hear about the intricate details, and so I think
also it's a nice way to, I don't know, feel less lonely when it comes to your preference and maybe macabre or things that are a little bit weird or a little off for the majority of the population.
Yeah, you find your family.
Yeah.
My people.
And I believe that somewhat like in, how can I explain this? Like in a how do you say this? Collective consciousness level. There we go. Mm-hmm. Once you start like talking about these things, it's like tiny little sparks going off, and that is like a chain reaction. And in a way or another, other people are going to start, I don't know, it's like invoking something like that.
It piques your interest, and it gets other people talking about it.
Even though you might not be thinking about it at the moment, since it's already out there in the general consciousness of everyone, I feel like all those things, how can I explain it? It's just like everybody starts taking all this interest. And I feel like now is the time to focus on that. Yeah, science and all that is important. Yeah. But we need to explore the things that are quite not understood so well, because they're part of reality. Mm-hmm. You cannot discard them because you don't have a scientific test for it. Yeah. It's real, and it affects you and I and everyone else. So I think once everybody wakes the hell up and starts taking a little bit more interest, then we're all going to start learning about it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fun to talk about.
Then that's the only way to learn, to talk,
Yeah. So.
I find what's fascinating with the paranormal is it doesn't matter your religion, your culture. Everyone has some kind of a paranormal story. It could be in their mythology or whatever. Everyone does, and it's just amazing to me.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's the Native Americans. I mean, the indigenous people of Peru. So many. Everybody all over the world describing reptilians, for instance. They're all some sort of lizard people or mole people coming from the ground. Pyramids through vast cultures that had never interacted with each other being built more or less in the same way.
And with the paranormal, like there's many stories about people that were non-believers that were involved one way or another, and they experienced things that they cannot explain, and therefore they might not say, yeah, I believe in ghosts, or I believe in this or that. They can say, I experienced something I cannot explain. Yeah. So at least it gives it a little bit more validation.
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because especially for me at work, I work with a lot of people who on the surface are not very, they don't really believe in the paranormal, but they will tell you experiences that they've had and seen on, or security cameras of things flying off shelves or things breaking within their vicinity that have no explanation, or, you feel the presence of somebody that walks into, when you're alone and you feel like somebody's walked into the room and you feel that energy and nobody's there. Yep. I mean, everybody's felt that at some point,
My favorite thing is when someone finds out we're into the paranormal, and then they're like, oh, I don't believe in that. But there was this one time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. and then they'll talk your ear off after that. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
But I like doing that. I like talking to people who are not either really into it or really put much thought into it. We start discussing things and you start drawing parallels between different events, and they're kind of like, that is kind of interesting. Yeah. Or that does kind of make sense. I never thought about it like that. For me, that's interesting, because you've just got somebody else to sort of think outside the box and not just take their reality at face value.
Exactly. So. And what I like about shows like yours too, people listening, if they've had encounters themselves, so whatever paranormal experience, whether it's with a cryptid or a ghost or whatever, and they don't want to talk to other people about it, then they hear shows like yours and they think, oh wow, I'm not the only one. There's other people out there, and they might not feel as lonely after that.
Yeah, it kind of normalizes it. There's so many people that are into that kind of thing, At least me personally, I'm not really into the idea of going to like a paranormal cryptid meetup, where we can sit around and talk about our problems. Yeah. But it's fun. It's fun to talk about, and it's kind of like a break from real life. Not saying that it's not real, but it's from the mundane. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with what you're saying, Kat, because I'm one of those people that, well, I was very close from sending a voice recording of a story of something that happened to me when I was young. And I was gonna send it to this show that talks about ghost stories. They talk about different. You can send your ghost story and then they discuss it.
Okay.
And it was nice because it felt, that was a long time ago. No, I never went through it because I didn't like the way I was telling the story. It wasn't coming out clear enough. So I was like, no, let me start over. So I never got to send it. But I thought, like, when I was doing that, I'm like, how cool that it feels so good to find other people that are dealing with similar experiences.
Yeah.
And this happened to me when I was so young. So it even made me feel better about I'm not crazy. So here it is. I swear, this is what happened to me. Yeah.
Do you feel like sharing that experience with us? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, never mind at all.
Actually, that's a good point because I'd like to hear this too.
It's something that happened to my little sister. It's something that I believe it's half folklore and half like personal experience. So in my country, people believe that kids, when they're not baptized or when they're baptized and they're very young, if you're not baptized, this experience is even more amplified. So they see little gnomes.
Oh, the enanos.
The enanos. And my little sister had an imaginary friend called, and it had a name and everything. I think the name of this thing was Murky or something like that. Murky. And she said, how big, what is this, a foot?
That looks like a foot and a half.
She would describe him as being a foot and a half, looking like a tiny kid, but with the face of an old man. And he had pointy ears and white hair. He had a pointy hat, a little vest and a little outfit with tiny little boots. And he would talk to her. They would play together. They would eat together. Sometimes there were spots on the table where she would tell you not to sit there because he's sitting there. So you think, okay, it's a kid, it's an imaginary friend, whatever, no big deal. But if you sat on that chair that she told you not, she would start screaming and crying and saying that he was getting angry, not to make him angry. And sometimes, we would find her in the closet of the room. And that closet was pitch dark. There was no light in that closet. Just sitting on, by the shoes, giggling by herself. So you open the closet door and you're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm playing with Murky. Can you close the door, please? This is a 4 or 5-year-old kid. And you're okay? I'm fine. I'm playing. Can you please close the door? And it's pitch black. What kid wants to be in a pitch darkness closet talking to their little imaginary friend? When she became 6 or 7, it stopped completely. She didn't talk about him. She didn't go in the closet anymore. One day it was totally gone. And that's part of the folklore, that only very small children can see it. And in the mountains in Peru, the people farmers and indigenous people, they believe that if you don't baptize your child, the gnomes will come and take him away. Like they will kidnap the kid.
So was this like a scouting mission for him? Or
I don't know. It's one of those things that are paranormal that nobody knows. But I'm not the only person that has an experience like this. Growing up, I've heard it from other families their kids have seen things that are similar.
But what does your sister say?
My sister, you tell her the stories now, and she remembers she had an imaginary friend, but she doesn't remember what it looked like and what they played, what they were doing when they were playing or what they talked about. It's the weirdest thing, but the way she would describe him to it was the freakiest thing, because it was the same description to any person that would ever ask her what he looked like, which I also thought it was odd in a kid. Because if it's your imagination, wouldn't you be changing it up every time? Yeah. Because you're a kid.
That also goes into the fact that they say that children are a little bit more perceptive to the paranormal or things that we as adults aren't, because they're more innocent, or maybe they haven't been conditioned yet, or so.
And that's a lot of detail for a 5-year-old too.
That's what another thing that blows our mind, that there was so much detail, and the whole thing with being in the dark closet giggling, that's just so creepy to me.
I don't know any children that would like to be in a dark closet for extended periods of time without freaking out.
No, but our 7-year-old needs to have like 3 night lights.
And the door open, at night.
And she's 7. Like,
Wow. That's
But,
wild. So have you guys ever had any experiences with cryptids or anything like that, or ghosts or any weird encounters?
Yeah, Melissa has. I mean, me personally, mine is a little bit lackluster. I really haven't had much, I would say, of many experiences. I know I talked about one time where I had sleep paralysis and I saw a cloaked figure approaching me, and it sounded like just wind rushing over my left ear because I obviously was paralyzed and I couldn't move. There's another time when I was a child, I was probably like 8 or 9, and I had in my house, my father's house, there's a bookshelf by the door. And when I was baptized, or when I got, the first communion?
Baptism is when you're a baby. First communion, you're like 9.
No, I think it was okay. So I think it was when I got baptized. There was this little clay shoe with the date I was baptized, and my younger cousin had one too, and my father had both of them, and he had them sitting in the very back of the bookshelf. So I would imagine the shelf was probably between 10 and 12 inches. So it was pretty far deep in the bookshelf. And I remember we left the house to go do something. When we came back, my cousin's ceramic shoe from her baptism was smashed on the floor, like in the middle of the house. And we didn't have any animals or pets at the time. And it was just weird because nothing else, even the items in front of it, weren't moved. It was just hers. And that was just an incredibly weird experience for me. And also there's one time where I had left the house and I came back and 3 holes appeared on my wall over my bed, like in a triangular fashion.
That's creepy.
Because at the time it was just my father and I living together, and he was out of the house and I was out of the house. So it was just like, okay, this is kind of strange, and then, just the odd feelings of, sensing like somebody's watching you or seeing things, especially where I work. It's a very old hotel. Mm-hmm. And at night, sometimes when I'd go in like 3 or 4 in the morning, the classic time for all these paranormal things to happen. For sure, I see people walking past me, like full-figured people walking past me. Just apparitions. You feel like somebody's just watching you. So. And
also, just to add a little bit on the hotel, this hotel is famous because a lot of people have committed suicide there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's
Really?
fairly recent. Yeah.
So it's not. Yeah. So I'm not surprised.
No,
there's a really tragic one where a father, I guess he I don't know if he saw that he found his wife cheating on him or something happened where the father decided to throw his 2 young children off the top of the building and then throw himself off the building as well.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So that was So I mean, a lot of tragic deaths have happened there. So.
How old is the hotel?
I'm sorry?
This was at the hotel. How old is the hotel?
The hotel's about 50 to 60 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So.
Have guests ever said that they've seen or heard anything?
I haven't spoken to guests, but I know staff who've been there for 20 some odd years, and they'll tell you. I mean, and they've shown me the security footage too of things just falling off and being thrown off of, tables. What are those? What are the things called that you just? I can't even believe I can't remember it. Like that you just display like decorations on in a hallway or something, like a table or. I don't know. It's like they're like little side tables.
Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah, like little side tables or something. And the security camera will be viewing the hallway, and you'll see like the lamp be thrown off this table like at 4 a.m. and nobody's there.
Wow.
Just crazy stuff like that. So.
I worked at a hotel as well for a few years, and we had a resident entity there as well. And the management thought perhaps it was only the night shift that knew about it, and because I was a housekeeper, and we mentioned it to the manager one day, and she says, "You mean the day staff sees it too?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, TV's turning on and off when there's nobody in the hotel." Had one coworker tell me, she came up to me and she saw a book fly off the table in the room she was cleaning. And I said, well, did you hit it with the vacuum? She says, no, I was at the other end of the room. I'm like, oh, okay then. After you make a bed, there's a handprint right in the middle of the bed. And it's just like, okay. Just little things like that. At night, the night staff would see, like, because the doors are all sensors, right? They open up when there's someone there. Well, the lights in the stairway was all motion sensors. So if there's nobody there, the lights just turn off. Well, in the middle of the night, whoever's sitting at the front desk would be watching the monitors, and the front doors would open and close, and then the elevator door would open up, go up to one of the floors, and then come back down, and then they'd notice on the monitors that the lights in the stairwells would be turning on, and they look and there's nobody there. Oh my God. Yeah, so we kept it hush-hush, of course, from the guests because we didn't want to freak them out, but...
Yeah, but something tells me that a lot of guests would kind of be into that.
Yeah, you guys
yes.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, we get lots of teams going to investigate. Yeah. Yeah. No, I tried... Because I'm with, I'm also an investigator, and I've been, at the time, I was trying to get the team to go and investigate, and the manager's like, nope, I don't want that. I'm like, okay, well, if you change your mind, you know where to find us, so.
Oh, wow, that's it. That's so awesome that you do that. That is super interesting. I don't dare, I'm not going to lie, because I'm too much of an, I would say empath, and I'm big on energies.
Yep, me too. Yep.
I'm afraid that something is going to get stuck to me. That's why I'd rather not play with it. And I've had my fair share of doing things I shouldn't when I was younger. So I learned. Yeah. I think a lot of us have when we were younger. And we didn't really understand. We thought it was a cool thing, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But I think it'd be pretty cool though to do like a road trip or something through all the haunted places in the East Coast.
Oh, absolutely! I'm down for that, but I don't think I would be able to go with something to measure temperature in a room in a flashlight and start asking questions because I feel like something will stuck to me, and it'll follow me, and I'm good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that takes a lot of courage, and I don't know if.
No, and I'm super.
If I could be up for doing something like that.
And I'm a very spiritual person, and I do my own work with my spiritual beliefs and the spiritual world for me. So I wouldn't want to. I don't know, I feel like I have protection, but why are you going to be poking the bear and testing the things that protect you? That's not nice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
when we go out, we're always very respectful. We're not like some of the TV shows where I dare you to show yourself, coward. Oh no, we don't do that. We're very respectful. It's like, hey, my name's Kat. Would you like to speak to us?
Yeah. Have you ever experienced anything that you just couldn't explain, or?
Oh yeah, we've had quite a bit of evidence that was pretty cool. Various EVPs and just the EMF detectors going off when they shouldn't. And my father sent me it's a wire locator. Electricians use it because a lot of times we'd have our EMF detector, and I always wondered what was behind that wall, what's underneath the floor, and the client doesn't really want us to poke holes in their houses, to see if there's any wires or anything. So I would use the wire finder to see if there's any live wires back there, and if there wasn't, and the EMF detector's still going off, then you can pretty much say, okay, it's going off when we ask it to. So that's pretty fascinating.
That's super interesting. See, that's something you don't see on TV.
Yeah,
and they should show it so it gives it validity. That's awesome.
Actually
I
a
agree.
Good point. Yeah, what you're trying to do is you're trying to sort of not disprove it, but just trying to verify your evidence, right? Listen, this is the wall. There's no wires behind it. There's no electrical components back here. There's nothing, and it's still something still activating this. Mm-hmm. So do you see do you watch a lot of these YouTube paranormal channels and these guys who go out there? Do you believe a lot of these shows or these channels that go off on their own and do their own sort of investigations? How much do you think some of it's fake, or do you think most of it's real, in your opinion?
I can't watch those shows anymore ever since I investigate, because a lot of time, and it irritates my daughter. She's 19 and I'll be like, it's not like that. And she'll say, Mother, you're ruining my show. It's like, well, sorry. They're just little things that irritate me, like the camera's on the individual and they say, that chair moved. Did you see it? Well, no, because the camera was on your face. I can see up your nose. Like, no, yeah. I saw squat. Just little things like that. And I understand, these shows really brought the paranormal into the mainstream. And I'm thankful for that, because, you can talk about this topic to just about anybody now, and they don't look at you like you have three heads as much as before. Yeah. And more people start talking about it. But at the same time, there's still a business. They're still trying to make money. They're still trying to get an audience. So I do think some of the evidence and some things are not as real as they should be.
Yeah.
And I think also Mario's referring to some, I don't know if you're familiar with them. Some channels have some compilations of different videos, and we've seen a few where it's just a single person with their camera, like a handheld camera, and they're in a site that is incredibly creepy, and they're just walking around. They're not even provoking anything. And this really scary things are happening around them.
Those are like the only ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really like sort of suspend my disbelief for a bit. Like there's these two guys, they're both separate guys with their own channels, and they're in the Middle East somewhere. And if they're doing camera tricks, I don't know what they're doing, but it looks really legit. It looks like they're in there by themselves. They're live. What is it called? I don't even know Facebook and all this.
I can't remember.
It's like live streaming on Facebook or something. And it's just the creepiest shit just happens to these people, and they show it. Yeah. And that's the only thing that really gets me like going, like, wow, this is really freaking me out. And things don't freak me out watching them on YouTube, and this is really freaking me out, because this guy sounds like he's about to start crying. He looks like he's about to start crying. He looks like he's completely alone. He's live streaming it. Doors are slamming around him. Things are flying at him. There's apparitions in doorways. It's so I don't know, maybe it's good photo video editing, I don't know. So,
it could be some of those I find look valid, but again, not being there, you don't know if there's somebody with fishing wire or something opening doors or whatever. But that being said, a lot of these do look valid. Especially, did you see that one where there's this guy? He's rebuilding or remodeling a house, renovating it, and he goes in and all the tools are all kind of like, it looked like somebody was in there and like vandals. So he's walking around looking to find if there's anybody still left in the house, and doors start opening and he hears something from the basement. And that actually, I don't creep out easily, but that's like, damn, that looks really real. Like
wow.
Yeah, that sounds scary. See, things like that would freak me out.
The scariest one we've seen is this guy is somewhere in, Jesus, I don't even know.
In the Middle East.
I'm going to sound like a total ignorant person. I don't know. Iran, somewhere.
Saudi Arabia or something
somewhere like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in a neighborhood, like a slumpy looking neighborhood in a way, right?
No, it's like desolate. It was like desolate. There's nobody. Like he showed
and the houses are literally on top of each other and abandoned. Yeah. And he goes into this house. There's no one. There's no lights whatsoever. He just has his camera and a light connected to the camera, and he's panning around, and he's panning towards a direction where there's a mirror on the wall. And when you pass the mirror, it looks like he's not alone. And then they do another take on slow-mo, and you can see somebody standing behind him. And he freaks out, turns around, and there's a doorway behind him. There's no one. So he starts going around the house, and he's completely alone. And he's praying. I don't know what he's saying, but he's praying.
Oh, I think I've seen that one.
Oh my God, that one is so scary. And then the door starts slamming.
Yeah.
And the guy just gets out of there praying. And as he gets more scared, the praying gets louder.
Yeah.
And the noises get louder around him.
Yeah, I mean, the jinn. Yeah, he was looking for jinn. He was looking for jinn. That's what he's looking for.
So. If it's the same one that I've seen, that I'm thinking about, I've seen that. That's pretty... Well, first of all, for me, for a rule of thumb is I don't think you should investigate by yourself, just for safety reasons. Yes. What if there was a hole in the floor and he fell and broke a leg or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but some of these guys, they do anything for views, but that's what scares me the most too. Sometimes is you see these guys going into these abandoned, rotten places, and there's vagrants in there, like there's homeless people, drug addicts, and it's like, and you're
tripling the risk.
Yeah, you're putting your life in real danger when you should be afraid of these real people who are living here, who have no problem killing you or stabbing you or stealing your cameras,
Yeah,
going
exactly.
in themselves. So
yeah, to me that's unnecessary risks, and it just whenever I see that happening, I just yell in my mind, "No, not alone! Like, please, no!"
Please, no. Most of the time, I yell at the TV all the time. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop!
Yeah, I've done that. Or I'll be watching a show with my daughter, and I'm like, "Oh, quick, pan to the left! I think I saw something." And it's like, "Don't, no, they can't hear me."
So yeah,
funny.
So
what is it about the paranormal that fascinates you?
You want to take the lead on this one?
Okay, sure. So for me, I grew up in a country that has a lot of mysticism, in a family that has had a lot of experiences through generations. I remember my great-grandmother telling me stories about things she saw when she was a little girl, to my dad and my uncle, to things that happened to me, things that happened to my sisters and my cousins, and also going to school and talking to my friends about these things with some sense of normalcy, because they also had their share of things that they experienced, some more than others. So you didn't feel so alone, but still it was a little bit weird. And then being a teenager and dabbing with the paranormal, like you shouldn't, but you do anyway, and playing with the Ouija board and stuff like that.
Edgy and cool.
Because you're so cool and you want to be a witch and stuff like that. You have no idea what you're doing, and just that, it's just so weird. But and at every point in my life, at any stage in my life, the paranormal has always entered my life one way or another. I've never been able to not have an experience. And I feel like it's a process of, I don't know, I'm going to sound super crazy and nerdy, but I don't think it's a bad thing that people start to experience these things, although it can be a little bit scary and confusing at times. I feel like it's a sign of the evolution of your soul and how much more in contact you are with the spiritual world, which is super important, as important as it is the physical realm. So yeah, for me, that's how it's been with the paranormal. And it's a part of my daily life, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always been that I've never been able to really take reality sort of at face value. There's always more, like truth. They always say, right? Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yep.
Like, I don't believe that we're alone. This universe is too big for us to be alone. Too many parallels can be drawn between different accounts from different people, from all walks of life, from different cultures. Not to sort of minimize or brush off human ingenuity. But I do believe maybe there have been extraterrestrial beings who have maybe interacted with us at some point in our lives, and in early mankind's life. Maybe they're still working with us now. You hear about Valiant Thor. You hear about, we spoke about Phil Schneider and the underground bases, with many species working with humanity or working against humanity. Coincidence is something that is, I don't think, real. I don't think anything's really a coincidence. I think things happen for a reason. The Mandela effect, things like this. It's just, once you start poking holes in certain elements of reality, it sort of opens up the imagination, or it sort of opens up your mind to accept things that might be a little bit strange. That's not easily swallowed or accepted by mainstream society or mainstream science. When you have astronauts and you have high-level military officials, doctors, people who have educated themselves or been in their careers for decades, spent decades learning, and they're coming forward and they're talking about paranormal things. seeing creatures, spiritual things. It kind of lends credence to that, and it's fun to think about.
Yeah.
I try not to follow blindly into things. Like, I don't believe that the earth is flat. There's plenty of scientific evidence that shows that it's not.
There's always a line.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe in, what do they call them? What are the things when the airplanes with the
Jesus, what is that called?
Chemtrails. I don't believe in chemtrails or things. Yeah, things like that. I believe, they've the Higgs boson is a scientific discovery. Dark matter is a scientific discovery. I mean, these are all things they theorize up to 11 dimensions or maybe more. Time being the fourth dimension that we experience linearly. Perhaps there are beings that experience it the same way that we do, and they experience the fifth dimension linearly. I mean, maybe aliens are just interdimensional beings, and we're all living on the same realm. The same plane of existence. I mean, the rabbit hole just goes so deep, and then once you get to the bottom of it, there's twists and turns, and you learn about. The hollow earth theory, while I don't really believe in it, is interesting. Things like this, and it's so fun to talk about, and it's so fun to think about and read about. That's what sort of got me into it, and it's kept me going with it. So
yeah,
it's interesting to find out other people's perspectives on all this too.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to have a discussion about. And oh wow, I didn't think about it like that. Or yeah, I have never heard about that. That's kind of interesting.
And also, like, at least for us, the way we're doing things is we're both, I guess, going halfway with the things that interest each other.
Yeah.
So like, whenever we're gonna pick a topic and we're going to talk about something, we basically pick little pieces of paper out of a hat with all the things that we want to talk about scrambled together. And it's super interesting because I don't want to give any spoilers, but what's coming up for our next episode is something that I never in a million years thought I would sit down and think about. And I'm so glad that it was one of the topics you wanted to discuss, because it's given me a whole different perspective on this topic in particular. I don't want to say anything else.
Yeah, but it's so
cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it's just something, it's just like there's aspects of our lives that people just take for granted, and they don't really sit back and give some thought to it, like even something as simple as where we came from.
And that applies to the paranormal too, since we're talking about.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's just like you think about, for example, just the evolution of human beings, like where we came from. I buy the theory of evolution. I totally buy it 100%. But then somebody comes in and says, oh well, Earth was impacted by a meteor, then that had previously hit Mars, and there was life in Mars, and maybe we're seeded from a different alien race or something, and I'm going down the street to Crazy Town, I sound like I'm going down to Crazy Town, but it might not be something that I buy 100%, but it's something that I want to read into, or I want to learn about, and then you sort of, like I said, you sort of make these connections to other things that sound more credible. And it's like, well, that's kind of interesting that something that sounds so far out there can be tied back to something that sounds very credible, like, for example, all the underground cave systems in America, right? There's a huge missing population. A lot of people go missing in the forests every year. And these forests are right over our cavern systems. And then you hear people talking about seeing cryptids coming out of old mine shafts that link up to these caverns. And then you talk about Phil Schneider, who was building deep underground military bases connecting to these caverns. And it's just these aspects that are all over the place sort of get drawn together by these tiny little threads. And that's what it is for me. Melissa's rolling her eyes.
No stress.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just agreeing with him.
I was going to say, years ago, before I kind of embraced my weirdness, like I say, I was talking with a coworker one time, and we were talking about people who hear voices in their heads. And his wife at the time worked in the psychiatric wing at the hospital, and he said, yeah, it's chemical imbalance. So just, I don't know where I came up with this, but I'm like, yeah, chemical imbalance. Maybe people who are missing this chemical can actually hear voices, other people thinking, and the rest of us who have the chemical, it blocks it. So I'm going on and on and on, and all of a sudden we just kind of stare at each other at each other as if to say, whoa, how do we know that could actually be why?
Yeah, it's crazy enough that it kind of makes sense. So if you think about it, like maybe it's true.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about how we've sort of been, we have the ability to open up our perceptions to sort of, to tap into the collective consciousness. But it's like maybe we've sort of been conditioned, or we evolved out of being more connected to our spiritual realm. And that's maybe something. Maybe you're hearing, like you said, the voices of people around you, or you're in touch with something more spiritual. But the majority of us have sort of evolved, or, who knows what happens, to have that blocked out.
On that note, I remember watching a documentary. It's on YouTube. I'm sure if you dig in a little bit deeper, because I don't remember the title, you'll be able to find it. It's a documentary that talks about how psychotic episodes, because people that hear voices in their head are psychotic. Mm-hmm. Psychotic episodes are an indication of a healer amongst a group of people. So a lot of the times, these visions that they might have sometimes, or hallucinations, are it's like the spirits are talking to them to guide them and tell them who they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So in the culture that we have now, we shame that. And we punish these people, and sometimes we segregate them from society and label them as they're crazy and they need to be fixed. In other societies, and societies that are, I don't know, like certain tribes in the Amazon, people that are more in touch with how can I explain it? Like ancient way of being, they're more in touch with nature and stuff like that, and the spiritual world. That's a sign. So that's their next healer. So their job is to guide that person and give that person everything they need so they can flourish, and then they can help their community in return. Yeah. And it's super interesting. They go around some tribes in the Amazon, and they talk about some people that have gone through experiences like that, and people that have had episodes like that, and that instead of getting help in a modern psychiatric institution, mm-hmm. they go to South America. They go to other places to look for alternative ways to cure their psychosis. Mm-hmm. And they also talk about hallucinogenic plants and, doing certain drugs that tap into your spirituality. And they come out as a completely different person. Like, it's the craziest thing.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of wild that some cultures revere the schizophrenics and the psychotics, while we shun them and shame them,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all schizophrenics and psychotics are not mentally ill.
No, but I mean,
but it's kind of interesting to look at, that they're placed in such a high position in a tribal society.
Like Kat was just saying, and she was discussing with her coworker, what if we all are missing that one chemical and we can hear other people's thoughts and other people's intentions, and it's just like voices in your head. Who knows?
It's trippy. This is what I love.
I know, right? Or it's like several years ago, if you were a left-handed person, they would force you to write with your right hand because they thought it was a sign of the mark of the devil, at least here in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then they just figured out that it's just the brain that works a little different, and it's just like you said, the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole, and like another thing, like I said, is a coincidence. When you're thinking about somebody and that person calls you, or you're thinking about somebody and that person walks into the room, and it's like, oh wow, what a coincidence. It's you're putting that energy out there, right? You're thinking about somebody, or you're sending that energy out into the universe, and they respond in kind, or that's what's the unexplainable is what's so fascinating. Like, why is it happening like this?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
there's something that when I was a teenager, I worked at a grocery store in the deli, and this I'm just working away, and concentrating on my work, and this gentleman comes up to me and says, "Excuse me, could you tell me where I could find the?" And I said, "The pita bread?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, it's right over there." He goes, "Oh, have you been getting a lot of requests for it?" I'm like, "No, you're the first one today." And he just kind of looked at me, and then I realized, crap, how did I know you wanted pita bread?
Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just.
I think he almost ran out of the store after he grabbed his pita bread.
Get out of here! This lady's crazy. Yeah, but I really believe that truth is stranger than fiction. Our reality is not what it seems.
Yep.
I just think more people need to sort of pierce the veil and question it and
on the spiritual development, because it's not like I read extensively on it, but the very little bit that I've tapped into, the key to start growing spiritually and being able to be more receptive to the paranormal and other things that are around us is intuition. That's the first thing that you need to work on, is your intuition.
Yep.
And really believe it and listen to it, which is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And you'll see once you start to notice it, that it helps you in the most mundane things that you can possibly imagine. This happens to me always when I'm driving. If there's traffic, and sometimes I get this unbelievable urge of making a right, and I don't even know why. If I ignore it, something is going to happen on the road. Not something bad, but I'm going to get stuck in traffic or something annoying, and then I think back at that feeling. Whenever I have followed that feeling, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's I swear to God, it's the truth. And you follow that urge, it just comes out of nowhere. Things work out better for you. I don't know how to explain it, but that is
I
intuition.
agree. Yep.
Yeah, it's called what they say. It's called following your gut, right?
Yeah.
And it's
You can feel it.
and that's one of the things that I really wish I could get a handle on is recognizing when to listen to my gut.
It's hard.
It's like, when is it talking to me? Because there are times where things have happened and I've made decisions, and like big decisions, and they've worked out for the best, and going against my gut at that point would looking back would have been very detrimental. So that's another thing that's just it's just so surreal. It's kind of like a special power.
That's where you start. Everybody has it. We just have to exercise it. Just like when you start to write and read, you get better at it because you practice. So it's the same with intuition.
Yeah, so.
I learned to go with my intuition a long time ago, and it hasn't steered me wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Somebody's out there watching, and that's another crazy thing is people talk about your guardian angel, which is what your intuition is, or I believe that I don't believe that it's a guardian angel or something like that. I think it's just your own innate ability to protect yourself or do what's best for you. It's your body looking out for you, your mind looking out for you, but it's just my thoughts.
I can be very klutzy. My husband makes fun of me sometimes and says I can trip over a shadow. And then I told him one day, I said, "Yeah, I think my guardian angel drinks because I have more than one because I need them."
They're out there.
Yep.
They're out there. Believe it. I've been in situations where, honestly, I look back, especially when you're younger. I look back and I go, "How did I not die? How did I not get hurt?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was that? I was thinking at that moment, and what took care of me? Like, God, just a really short story. One time I ended up hanging out with a friend and two boys that we didn't know at all. Right there, huge red flag. Like, why are you doing that? Then second, they take us.
Yeah, why are you doing that?
I was young and dumb. They take us to a park where there's a lake here in Florida, so there's alligators there. And the sun is going down, so the park is closing down, and we're in the middle of the park. It's huge second red flag. Why are you doing that? We don't even have lights or cell phones, and we're in the dark, walking right next to the lake. Third huge red flag. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And the whole time, I remember feeling like, oh no, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way. And then getting stopped by a park ranger, like, "Kids, what the hell are you doing? Do you know where you're walking?" And when he points with the flashlight, we're right next to the water where there's alligators. How in the hell? Nothing bit me.
Yeah.
I didn't fall in the water. Something had to be taking care of me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Well, we're just about at the end. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your show and where they can find it?
Go.
Oh.
Go ahead. Take this.
I'll take it away.
Over to you.
Yeah, so So we're Vice City Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. Where else?
Google Play.
Google Play,
yeah.
Podbean?
Podbean, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube.
YouTube.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. We're all,
Yeah.
you can't miss us.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
If you want to see some images that I share every once in a while, well, not every once in a while, but for every episode, in regards to what we're talking about and a bit of information on the images, you can find those on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, we have a group and we have a page, and we're going to talk about everything. We will talk about the paranormal, conspiracy theories, aliens. I feel like at some point we're going to dive into philosophy with some of the topics that we have picked, even spirituality, even things that are related to technology. So we have a huge variety.
Yeah, the pipeline is
it's quite, so we're just trying to keep it fun for everybody, a little bit.
Keep it real, keep it weird.
And also, every other 3 or 4 episodes, we're talking a little bit about Florida, because everybody, I don't know what the conception of Florida is for the world.
Everyone's a little weirder down here.
But yeah, things are strange. Yeah. So it's fun to share that every once in a while.
Yeah, so we have our little, it's called What the Florida, what WTF, so What the Florida. So we had one episode already, so we're going to probably do maybe one episode every 2-3 months, just to sort of break it up a little bit. But yeah, you can find us, just the easiest way is vicecitypodcast.com.
Yes, and if you have any questions, suggestions, messages, whatever it is, just send them over.
Yeah. And as usual, listeners, I will be posting links to the show notes.
Yay.
Nice.
Thank you so
Kat,
much.
this was awesome. Thank you for inviting us on your show.
Well, thank you for having a great show and being here.
Absolutely.
It was such an honor. Like, this was so awesome. Thank you.
I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And I hope everything's good with you over in Canada. And hopefully we talk soon.
Of course, yes. Thank you so much. You guys take care. Make sure you wash your hands and stay away from people.
So they call it down in Florida, they call it an alligator distance. You stay an alligator distance away from everybody.
I like that.
All right,
Sage
Kat,
words.
we'll talk to you later.
For sure. You take care.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Kat.
And why is that not? Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.